All right, we are recording for chapter, yes, 13 of The Password is Courage, which is a curious chapter. And I guess in a way this is a chapter because, as I've mentioned before, it's kind of weird trying to do story analysis on a nonfiction story on a biography, but I mean, gotta do it when it comes up. Excuse me. So, 24 chapters, so this is the start of the second half by chapter number at least. And it's actually a little boring of a chapter because it's mainly just exposition telling you about things, which is fine. I mean, having the historical record of this stuff, that's fine and desirable, but it's kind of boring, especially because the way it starts almost feels like an introduction to the story again. Because of how it's introducing you to the whole, yes, it's 1943, how the situation for the war has changed, things like that, mentioning how because of the Pepe raid, wait, no, I'm mispronouncing that. The raid that the Canadians were accused of and probably did, though exactly how much is unsure, bound and then shot some German prisoners they had taken. That and also the invasion at Sicily to try to get into Europe and not just in Africa. Mentions how those were basically the last times that you had a major influx of British POWs. But well, yeah, that was the last time. So really, it's just been the new British POWs have been shot down. It also talks pilots who had been shot down. It also talks about how yes, we also now, thanks to better bombers like the Mosquito, Berlin itself is being hit, which makes the British a lot happier. And he does say it's not that they're bloodthirsty, but after the constant bombing of London, it's kind of nice to hit back at Berlin. It also talks about how things are changing because now America is involved. And while, yeah, it's having to deal with Japan in the Pacific, it still is. There's a lot of manufacturing power in America that's now being applied, as well as a bunch of manpower. It describes how, yeah, you only are getting new British POWs from planes being shot down. Well, that's also how you're getting American POWs, which surprises the British because it's like, oh yes, one of their bombers was shot down. Oh, okay, how many POWs is that? 13. I thought you said a bomber, not an army. It's like, why would you have 13? Because the POW had no idea that we were making. It says a fortress, capitalized, so I'm pretty sure there would be a reference to the flying fortress. But yeah, 13 on that thing? Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. We did have some things that were some machines that weren't necessarily the most impressive, like the Sherman tank, to my understanding, was not the most impressive of tanks. I think we also came up with better tanks though before the end of the war, but it also was we could pump that shit out. I was like, either we built it very well, or we built a lot of it, and that definitely has quite an impact. But anyway, so it's just talking about that. It's almost giving like a census as well in this chapter, as far as how, yeah, we got all these people here, and it's like they're this nationality, and that nationality, and that nationality, and that nationality, but it's all the same Commonwealth. Anyway, talks up the Red Cross. Hang on, I just want to... Okay. Talks up the Red Cross and how, yeah, that literally kept them alive. Because the Germans would feed them, but like the smallest amount possible. And as for if you were working, if you weren't working, then you wouldn't necessarily fed as well. So the only way you would have had enough food was through the Red Cross packages, which apparently were actually designed to complement what the Germans would give you, which is kind of neat. But it does also mention that, yeah, unfortunately in the winter, because it would be hard to move things around in Germany, and also Germans were hungry too, so they would loot the Red Cross packages. That's also when they would be getting less, even though it's winter, so they need that food more, the POWs, but is what it is. It also talks about how, yeah, the Red Cross also can do the wellness checks, like what was talked about previously, to make sure, is a prisoner, tracking down where a POW is, making sure that they are okay, that they are being taken care of. And also they would provide other things such as new service uniforms. New service clothing, I should say. It might not always be a uniform. Well, no. You think it would always be... Well, okay, no. Because it might be... If it's like a coat or something like that, that might be considered not part of the uniform. Anyway, service clothing, books, games, instruments, things like that. Which... Yeah, even the service clothing, that would all be for morale purposes. That would all help with your morale. Because, I mean, if you're wearing your clothing, it's, like this is your uniform, as opposed to wearing whatever you've been given, even if it is let's just say a shirt, even if it is a nice shirt, that for whatever reason, a POW were given because he needed a new shirt, that's great and all, but if it were from, in this case, Germany, it might be I don't really want to wear this. Whereas even the least comfortable clothing from your home probably feel wonderful. So yeah, I can also believe that's another benefit there. It talks about that. Then starts talking about the cooler, and how he spent a good amount of time in there because every time he got put onto a work party, he tried to escape. They caught him and brought him back, so he spent more time in the cooler. But it's and one thing interesting. Okay, well, two things. One, what it describes for the design of the cooler is not like what is depicted in The Great Escape. In The Great Escape, it is a concrete bunker almost. Above ground bunker completely, but it's all concrete. In this, no, it's just like another one of the barracks huts. But it is separate from the others, has barbed wire around it, it has individual rooms within that are locked, and there's always a guard there. It also mentions that if you want to use the latrine, you have to hit a switch that turns on a light, so a guard will come and get you when they feel like it, take you out to a latrine, bring you back. It's not great, but it does mention it's also the only place you can get privacy. So if you want to just, it mentions Coward is spending a lot of his time in there reading, so he actually kind of enjoys it. It also lets him think about things a lot because he's able to be alone with his thoughts, and it doesn't get specific, but it does talk about how that gives him the time to think through how he can survive going forward, because POW life is very hard, and it's been a while, but the whole how talked about previously, the suicide by Kraut stuff, it's like it's not unreasonable that could have been an issue for him and would continue to be ongoing an issue for people there. So having that time alone to just think through for yourself, to mentally prepare you for the situation you are in, but we'll be going back to, makes a lot of sense. One thing that is unfortunate though, and I put this in my notes, is that was it the previous chapter? Recently, I think it was in the previous chapter. How it mentioned how he was in the cooler for 30 days after the last escape attempt, and how this was actually a good thing. It mentions that because it turned out it was a good thing that he was in there for those 30 days. And I'm expecting some sort of specific explanation, but now we're months to a year later, and all we really got here is just, he gets to spend time reading and thinking. It's like, what? So it's not that spending those 30 days had any meaning. It's just that he was able to take advantage of being in there. Which is, for example, if you watch The Great Escape, and I do remember the name is Ives for the guy who does also commit suicide by Kraut in it. In fact, not too long before that, when he is thrown to the cooler, you can see, because of how he's thrown and just, is up against the wall, because he doesn't, stop himself or anything. He just goes against the wall, and how he is, physically collapsing as well as mentally and emotionally collapsing. I kind of lost what my train of thought was, but it's, that's not unreasonable that's what many people are going through, would have gone through there, but not Coward. He's able to find a way to get through that. Maybe I'll watch The Great Escape. Well, no, I can't. I was going to say, maybe I'll watch The Great Escape after I finish watching this. I have so many other things I need to finish watching through, though. Sorry. Sometimes it is how it is. we also, I don't, because how we had Bader being mentioned, Wing Commander Bader was mentioned previously, that he had met him at Lambsdorff, and that Howard would play a role in one of his escapes. Haven't got anything with that yet, but this chapter ends with him going on another work detail, joining another work party. And it's like, wait, this seems familiar. It's him being assigned to Auschwitz, which is going to be curious to me for a couple things. Well, no, mainly just the one. Well, no, it is two. One is that he spends a long time there. So this isn't just a work party, because those seem, when it's described in other previously, be just months at the most. But I'm pretty sure he's basically there for the rest of the war. I mean, it is also true, though. He doesn't actually try to escape from Auschwitz, but there's a reason for that, and it makes sense. At least, he doesn't try to escape. There's a reason, and it makes sense. But yeah, it is, though, when getting there, because he's like, he can't quite remember perfectly, because that has been a couple of years. But the whole, he sees the chimneys belching smoke. He can smell something. It takes a while for him to remember what it is. Then once he remembers what it smells, it's like, this is Auschwitz, isn't it? And the guard who he asked where they were, eventually just nods and like doesn't say anything, just nods, moves away. So explaining the whole he doesn't try to escape from Auschwitz. It's because, and it'll probably be in the next chapter or the chapter later. He also at some point learns German, by the way, at least enough to be competent. And because of that, he ends up, I've mentioned before, being a trustee, essentially. Because of the position that puts him in, like it's also like he has a connection with the Red Cross. Like the Red Cross packages would come to him and then he'd distribute them. Because of that position of importance and responsibility, I'm pretty sure there is a line in the book, because I kind of remember it, but it has been years since I last read it. But there was something like he recognizes, I can't escape because this role is so important. I need to stay here. That it would be wrong for me to. I can help other people escape, but the position I am in is one I should try to stay in. But and it is also, he then proves to be the contact with the underground and such. So it's like he becomes a linchpin for other things, so it makes sense that he does not try to escape once he's there. But it is also, as I said, I'm not, because I want to say he's there for the rest of the war, which is longer than I would think for just a work detail. So maybe it is he's just ultimately assigned there versus being out of Lambsdorff. But yeah, anyway, we'll just have to see what more happens with this, because it's also like, you mentioned he knows Bader, you mentioned that he plays a part in something with Bader, but then it's, okay, what is that? Because I don't think that's at Auschwitz. I don't remember. I mean, I'm saying that as both I don't remember anything more with Bader, but is also I just don't remember, so we'll find out. But if it does turn out that it's like, yeah, he was involved with some stuff with Bader, but that's not talked about in this book, then it's like, well, don't tease that he's going to do something. I mean, it's kind of like with the thing with the cooler. It's like, it was important that he spent those 30 days in the cooler. Okay, tell us why. Yeah, just generally every time he's in the cooler, he reads a book and he thinks on things. It's like, so it doesn't matter that he was in the cooler for 30 days. He could have been in there for 15 days, for just 2 weeks, and it's like it would be the same statement you're making. Come on. As I said at the start of this video, I can actually criticize this one a bit more, because it does see. I'm good with time skips and summarizing. I really am. I do those in some of my own books, because sometimes you need to. But it just, when you do that, you end up talking about generalizations, because it's necessary for the summary stuff. But when you're hinting at there being specific things previously, in previous chapters, but it's also true. Maybe the payoff comes later for both Bader and the 30 days. Well, that specific 30 days. Also, in this chapter, he talks about basically another to use the Great Escape's terminology, another cooler king there. His name is McPherson. Well, the name given to him is McPherson. Even says, yeah, we're making up this name for him, but any of you who had Lambsdorff, once I describe him, you know who I'm talking about. Basically, a Scot who... It even says that... Well, okay, he's a Scot who went to New Zealand and then joined up to go to war with the Germans once that had all started. But it even mentions in there about how, yeah, he also at times was kind of was like on the side of the communists. Which would be you wouldn't necessarily like him, but it's one of those, no, it's not so much that he's a communist, it's that he always wants a fight. He's one of those people that it's like, I'm always ready for a fight. Come on, where's some... But at the same time, while he is always that, so he spends a lot of time in the cooler, he gets on the Germans' nerves because he will just start singing there, and they'll tell him, like, stop that singing. Who's singing? And then they just walk off. Also talks about how, like when he'd be out on a working party and walking by, he would give chocolate that he got out of the Red Cross package. He would give chocolate to the German kids, and part because not like a propaganda thing. He just genuinely wanted to see their face the first time they got to have chocolate. So that basically, yes, there was also a great kindness and generosity to this man as well. So how much it was being talked about, I wonder if that was either just meant to like be a tribute to this character, or if it was McPherson comes up later. I'm not sure on that. I genuinely do not remember that. There are various other POWs at Auschwitz, and he does have dealings with a lot of them. Yeah. I don't quite remember. So that might be another thing that is set up. Is there a payoff? I don't remember. I hope there is, because if not, then that's a worthy criticism. Biography, nonfiction or not. It's still setups need payoffs. So, alright, I'm going to stop this, and I think I actually have enough time. I will read the next chapter right away, because it was also chapter 13 is kind of boring. I'm hoping chapter 14 is a bit more interesting. So, see you for the next one.